Alrighty, so I put these together with this cool little jig. It's a thick piece of balsa. I'll use those machine straight edges there, right angles. This is a piece of paper that you can see I cut snips out to put around the wing mounts on the lower wing. That I put on top of the fuselage, and then I poked the holes exactly where they're supposed to be, pre-drilled holes that were in the fuselage that are marked on the paper. So now I know exactly where they're supposed to be. There are those little holes. There's 4 of them. And so as long as I put that pattern over there, I know these have got to be right. At least that was the theory. So I bent these pieces of wire as they tell you, and I stuck them in, and I put these little vertical or these little right angle pieces. Turns out the geometry in the real airplane, it is dead vertical. Even though it's an A-frame, it's vertical. Then I started putting in all these little cross pieces. Some of them are brass that's soldered. And then later on, I put some other stuff in with glue. But even though I couldn't show you doing that because it's very difficult on a camera, at least I hadn't figured it out, this again is the first time I took this apart. So if it doesn't work, you get to cry with me. And I mean, cut to the chase, it worked. But this, taking it apart right here is the first time I did that. Using the balsa was nice because it was thick balsa and allowed me to stick these pieces down, and they'd hold. And then I could very carefully put everything together and glue things. I glued the wooden stays first, the engine bearers up there and all that, and just kind of eyeballed everything and made sure it was square. And then started putting in these cross braces, which are all measured. The only thing I can say, look at that, it worked. The only thing I can say about the kit so far is the most difficult part here is all of these cross braces that go in, especially along the A-frame pieces. There's measurements where they're, measurements of what they're supposed to be over there on the left. You can see the whole ladder of them, but you don't know vertically along the A-frames where they're supposed to go. So that's a problem. It'd be nice if they had something that showed where they're supposed to go. Now on the side, there's this little piece here that make an end strut, and that I just measure. I didn't use that particular guide. I measured between my pieces and cut a piece of wire and stuck it between. It seemed to make more sense. But you can see it's starting to come together. And when that end piece goes in, that'll really strengthen it up. Right now, it's really pretty delicate, I have to say. But here I'm test fitting for the first time in the holes, and lo and behold, fits really nice. Now I just got to make sure I got the right, it has to sink down a wee bit. But there it is. Generally speaking, looking pretty good, I have to say. Pleased. Now, it is sometime later, but I didn't show this because all I did was rig. It is not glued on the fuselage yet, but all that is easy line rigging, and you can see there's little crisscrosses all the way through all those verticals. There's crisscrosses on all those pieces. The actual structure, by the way, I sprayed it with primer and then airbrushed it all black. And then I rigged everything, and so now it looks like it's integral to the airplane. But again, it's not glued on yet. I think I'll use epoxy to do that. But you can see the easy line everywhere. It actually strengthens it up a bit, although it's pretty robust right now. It's straight. I'm trying to show you that it's straight down the spine of the fuselage. And here I put a little piece here, and the idea is maybe you can see it's actually horizontal. It looks like it's in line with that stabilizer, or pretty dang close to my eye. Looks pretty good to me. Those look like they're in line, so it means I've got it even and straight and pretty square. Now what I got to do is see if the engine bearers are the right height above the top of the fuselage hull. So I took my 3 view, this is in 1/48 scale, and I measured the distance with calipers between that top of the fuselage right there and the engine bearer, the bottom of the engine bearer. And I measured that distance. And then I used the little proportion, the only math I know how to do, knowing that's a 1/48 scale drawing. I just said that distance was 24.58 millimeters over 0.021, which is 1/48. equals x over whatever 1/133rd is, which is 0.03. That's the scale of my model. And when you do that, you solve for x, cross multiply and solve for x, and you end up with that value right there, which I forget what it is. It's 29 something, I believe. No, 35 something, 34 something, I believe. And so when I measure that, you'll see how close I get. And this is the first time I did it. And I put the caliper down there, and you look, and it's not quite right. I mean, there's a couple millimeters there. I'm a little high. So it's not a huge amount, but a couple millimeters. So this is based on the kit, so it should be lower. But you know, between friends, I'm not going to worry about that. I think it looks pretty dang nice.